Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. I, of course, am with Originator Success. Here, the Daily Rate Lock Conversation, the only place on the web where you guys get to be part of the conversation. Appreciate you joining me. Remember, you can join me live each and every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Whether you're on Facebook or you can join us. If you're watching on the replay, don't worry. Just give us a hashtag replay in the comments. Also, be as at least hashtag replay. Otherwise, give us more in the comments. The more comments that we get, the more that engagement this gets, the more the algorithms promote it. So also, if you comment, it will tell you when we go live. If you are on YouTube, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up thing. If you're on Facebook, smash that like button, tag an LO friend, share this post in a group. Remember, you can go ahead and sign up for our written lock advice at www.ratelockadvice.com. Send out an email like this one every day with a quick advice at a glance and some other stuff going on there. So you can sign up for that. Also, don't forget you can sign up for our text alerts, www.ratetextalerts.com. You can't beat them. You should join them. Last but not least, check us out at originatorssuccess.com. Find out how we help you to get loans on Google and social media. For example, Tanya says, if you've thought about doing the Loan Officer Leads Academy with TJ Barker, also well endorsed by us, by the way, or Originator Success with Hammer, I highly suggest them both. I'm going to be honest, I don't do much with either of them. Probably would have tremendous success if I did. My Google has been getting me a good amount of calls lately. I passed out 3 pre-qualified borrowers this month to agents, and I have some really good conversation with the leads. So if you want to see results, you got to check us out at originatorssuccess.com. All right, let's say hi to the live folks. I got to pair that in because that's 2 minutes. People aren't going to sit through 2 minutes for this, right? So let's see who we got, though, my friend. We got Nathan Einkorn. Good morning. Mallory Fodiatis. We got, do you pronounce it Dacia? Is it Dacia, Briley? Know if I got that right. Phonetically put it for me if I got that wrong. Kenny Rivard, good morning. Candido from the Northeast. Dude, it's 57 degrees here in the Smokies. I don't want the cold. Ben King, good morning. Derek Bobadilla, great to have you here. Sheila Lippman, Mike Tebow, Dan Crowley, Tim Klyla, Scott Minster, Harry Dennis, George Messiah. Great to see all of you here. All right. Enough hammer. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's get into what we got going on. So we'll start off with showing you what happened yesterday. Yesterday was another flat day for mortgage-backed securities. I'm going to move this to 1 month. I want to show you guys this. Take a look at these candlesticks, right? When you see this candlestick, remember the big middle part here, this thick part here, this is called the body. When there's a thin part on top that's called the wick, that means mortgage bonds or this bond got up and sold to this price, but ended the day either here or here. Now, if it's a red candlestick like this one, means we started higher and fell lower. If it's a green candlestick, it means we started lower and improved on the day. We want to see an upward movement when it comes to these mortgage-backed securities. The more money they're selling for, the better your pricing and the better rates. That's why when you take a look and see a pattern like we've got here, last week we saw a huge uptick. You see this big move jump, almost like it's grabbing the rungs on a ladder. And that's why rates moved as much as they did. In fact, get ready for the onslaught, y'all. We're getting the headlines. U.S. mortgage rate tumble by most in more than a year. So anyway, when you see this movement, now take a look here, though. What I want to show you guys is we saw this strong move upwards, but then on Monday, it was up, it was down, and see, it's just a flat line. There's no body. That means that nobody loves me. No, that means that it's just no movement at all, right? Then yesterday we had a little bit of improvement. Saw things improve a little bit on the day. Today, again, very little, almost no movement at all here. And the reason that I'm showing you this is because when we take a look and step back, we're looking at, these are the technicals, all right? So we're looking at the technicals here. What these technicals show us is that we're really flattened out. We saw this strong improvement. Now, what can sometimes happen, see how when it goes up and then it drops? Same thing up here. When it goes up, it drops. So we've gone up, and the fact that it hasn't dropped, it's holding steady. All right. Now, I'm still in a lock stance. However, I'm probably going to move over to a floating stance soon, because each day that goes by that we see mortgage bonds holding this level, that we see this 10-year treasury yield. And let me bring this screen back up and I'll share this with you guys here. Oops, hold on a minute. All right. Here it is. Here we go. Okay. So when we see this 10-year treasury yield, 4.56, see that same thing? See how we're coming here and it's leveled off? This is a really good sign. It means that that markets have found their equilibrium. They're not just strong positive reaction, and then a rebound with a negative reaction. Now, there's some technicals that we want to be paying attention to right now. All right, taking a look at these technicals, look at this 10-year treasury yield. Now, yesterday we were at 4.61, 4.62, today 4.56. That is good. We want to see that 10-year treasury yield drop. So mortgage bond pricing, we want to see that move up. 10-year treasury yield, we want to see that move down. Now, when we see this yield move down, but see this red line right here? That is the 50-day moving average. And you can see how the 10-year treasury yield dropped. And you see, look, I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see it really close. See how back on Friday, see this tail, this little thin line? See how it fell below that red line? That was below the 50-day moving average. Now, again, down is good for the 10-year treasury, but it got pulled back and it ended the day above that 50-day moving average. This red line is a strong technical resistance level. It's like trying to push through and break through the surface of the water. The 10-year treasury yield hit here, got up a little bit, came down, hit it again. Today it's testing it again. 4.56. That 50-day moving average is technically at 4.57. All right. But this is a very strong technical resistance. Now, we're not going to see mortgage rates improve if we don't see the 10-year treasury yield improve. The 10-year treasury yield does not set mortgage rates, but it's the granddaddy of the bonds. Now, the 10-year treasury in specifically, we're going to be looking today. The 10-year treasury auction is going to be today at, I think it's 1 o'clock, right? So here we go. Close that again. All right. All right, so the 10-year treasury auction is at 1 p.m. Now, yesterday, we got the 3-year treasury auction, and that actually came in pretty good. I told you it's normally a non-event, but traders are going to be watching these auctions this week. We've got the 3-year yesterday, the 10-year today, and tomorrow, the 30-year. The 10-year today going to get a lot of attention. Remember, the Treasury was issuing $112 billion in new notes and bonds this week. We want to see, is there an appetite for this debt? Are investors buying up this debt? If they're not buying the debt, what happens is the yields have to rise to make it appealing enough. In other words, if you're going to put your money in an account, do you want to put it in at 3% that you're getting a rate of return, or at 5%? Right now, that's a big difference, and it's not normally that extreme. I'm just okay. So we want to be watching this today at 1 o'clock. We want to watch that 10-year treasury yield. That's going to be a big deal. Some other things in the headlines we want to definitely be aware of. There are a lot of Fed speakers today. In fact, you would say that we have a slew or a suite of Fed speakers. Trying to find, I read so much stuff in the morning. All right. The overall picture should prove a relief to Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, who's going to be speaking on Wednesday, alongside another long list of senior Fed officials, along with European Central Bank boss Christine Lagarde and Bank of England chief Andrew Bailey, also scheduled to speak today. And if we look at the 5 things to start the day, here you go. So Fed Chair Jerome Powell leads a suite of central bank speakers today as traders stay alert to signs of monetary authorities will push back on bets for a pivot to easy policy. New York Fed President John Williams, 3 other policymakers are also due to make separate appearances. According to whoever, the market is underestimating the Fed's resolve in bringing down inflation. So here's the deal. Right now, when we look at the Fed stuff, okay, the Fed probability of a rate hike, it was up to about 15% yesterday, and then it dropped again, right? So it's dropped back below 10%. What the markets are saying is that they don't think the Fed is going to raise rates again. They think the Fed is done raising rates. What mortgage rates are really looking at, though, we want to look at these upcoming meetings and the Fed futures and the forecast. When is the Fed going to start, cutting that rate down? Why would the Fed cut the rate down? Well, again, when you take a look at, let me see if I can find it where I had it. I just had this one up here. I think it was back on here. Here you go. Despite signs of a U.S. economic slowdown in the fourth quarter, the Atlanta Fed's real-time model showing a sharp slowdown. Now, if the economy slows down, inflation comes down, the Fed is going to have to look to cut rates to spur the economy back on. So the question is, are we seeing this resilient economy actually show signs of slowing down? So with all that going on, if the Fed futures right now, they're expecting that in May, you could see that is when we start to get a pivot to where that the Fed funds rate will be lower, but it's not until June that we actually see a strong conviction that it'll drop at least that first quarter point rate cut. Expectations coming in June, maybe in May. Now, as that changes, if it goes towards a sooner cut, that timeline shortens, that's going to help mortgage rates. So anyway, that's what we got going on with that stuff. Let me hit you with some of the other things. We'll get wrapped up today. Rate sheets today should be flat. Although we are a little bit worse today than where we were yesterday. I mean, mortgage-backed securities only down 3 basis points right now. Yesterday, we saw a bit of improvement. Let me know in the comments, did you get, see you later, Nathan Einkorn. Let me know if Timothy Kalila is talking about on the charts, the actual technicals. You're right. That pattern is, I believe, a hammer pattern on the technicals. But I don't, you notice I generally don't go into those too much. So anyway, and if you take a look at where we're at here, only down 3 basis points on the day. However, I got to tell you, refresh risk out there is moderate with all these Fed speakers out there slinging opinions. This year, today we've got here we go. Anyway, I'll get rid of that. We got the 10-year treasury as well today. The outlook though, right now I'm still in a locking stance, but I'm leaning more towards going into a cautiously floating stance because we are getting a convincing performance here in bonds that this is where traders think that things belong. After we saw that crazy run up in yields that we saw back here, you can see it best here. We saw a huge run up in yields in October that everyone was like, hey, why are yields just getting worse and worse? Since then, we've seen them fall, drop, and stay. These are good signs. So Mike Tebow said, with MBS getting better, do you think lenders are padding? Not really, Mike. There's just not enough volume. So what Mike is asking is, generally are lenders making a little bit more money? Are they padding their rate sheet before they pass along those gains? Not mostly. In fact, again, this is something that I talked about in my written lock advice as well. So we're going to see these conversations. You're going to see this. It started today because of the Mortgage Bankers Association survey. Tomorrow is the Freddie Mac survey that comes out on Thursdays, right? So you're going to see a lot more headlines hitting. Let's see CNBC if they're talking about mortgage rates dropping yet. Nope. All right, here you go. So actually so a lot of them are quoting the MBA one. So mortgage rates plunge and demand finally inches back. Applications, blah, 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 the average. So you're going to see more headlines today than today. You're going to see more of them tomorrow. And when you see these headlines talking about rates dropping, lenders are going to have to be aggressive in keeping pipeline. They can't afford to be losing loans. So again, if you have not reached out to anybody that's locked over the last couple of weeks that may be locked in these rates that were much higher than where we're at now, rates that were in the 8s, 8.0, 7.9, 7. Again, I was talking about locking then because the forecast then made sense to lock because we didn't know if it was going to get worse. But now that we're in this situation where rates have dropped tremendously, half a point or more in many cases, talk to your management, talk to your lock desk, talk to your wholesale rep. Lenders are going to want to keep these loans. So definitely keep that there. Mike said, thoughts on how to avoid EPOs? Ishbia just mentioned an April Fed cut. Again, these are conversations that you want to start having proactively with your lender, if your wholesalers, etc., because there's going to be a place. What we can hope for, though, is that we don't see a lot of EPOs because the rate cuts and the rates dropping are going to be, not large, right? So, Mike, we could get out of this okay. If rates drop a little bit at a time, which is what should happen. The Fed's not just going to go in and cut rates by 3/4 of a point. And again, they don't cut mortgage rates, but that would affect mortgage rates tremendously, right? But if they're cutting and they wait and they cut and they wait, rates are going to creep lower and that'll run its natural course. So I'm hoping that we don't end up in a lot of EPO trouble on this one. It looks like we could get away from that one. Ron said, what do you think will be the catalyst for us to start seeing compression between the 10-year and mortgage rates? Historic spread is 1.79 and we're way above that. I think once we start seeing the rate cuts, Ron. So what Ron is talking about is it's getting a little long-winded. We're 15 minutes in. I'll explain that one on another time, but we're talking about when we see that 10-year treasury yield We see where mortgage rates are. There's room that mortgage rates could improve. This is the bottom line. That's not likely to happen until we start seeing some rate cuts. And then once we start seeing the rate cuts, I think that compression will happen naturally. Again, it'll bring it back down. Remember, we've got, it basically comes down to when investors have different choices for where they're going to be parking money, and that's when it's going to start to have more of an effect on that. So if that makes sense, I think even my abbreviated comment, I know that you're deep in this stuff, so I think you get where I'm going with that one. So awesome, my pleasure. Remember, guys, if you guys have questions or comments, you want to learn more about what's going on, you want to learn about the fancy candlesticks, all this good stuff. Ooh, look at this, we're up a couple basis points, still positive, cautiously float to start the day, but again, I'm still looking at locking. But tomorrow I could be towards again. If it's got risk tolerance, we're looking like we could be okay right now. This is, I'm struggling not to move higher, not to move too cautiously floating yet, but still going to hold locking for one more day. Tomorrow, if we see bonds end today positive today, I'll switch to cautiously floating tomorrow. So Candido, thank you, my friend. Glad that you liked it. Remember, guys, you can join me each and every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. By the way, if you don't mind, in the comments, let me know which platform did you watch on today. It looks like there were quite a few that were on the YouTube page, as well as, of course, on Facebook. Let me know where you watched this. And also, I have that text sign up to remind you when we're doing it. That should be out probably by Friday. So, all right, my friends, I'll see y'all later. Make it a fantastic one. Bye-bye.